Hi, Gautam. Can we do a quick audio check?
Hi. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
awesome.
you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Um, I am Tejasvi, the Associate Policy Counsel at IFF, and I'm so glad that all of you were able to join us this evening. As the chair for today's call, I am pleased to welcome you to the third quarterly members call of 2023. If this is your first time attending one of these, firstly, I'd like to thank you for signing up to be a member. And secondly, I'd like to give you a quick rundown of everything that happens on one of these calls. As part of our efforts to increase transparency around our work, we host a call for our members every quarter where we take them through the work we've done in the past 3 months. This work is undertaken by three verticals at IFF: strategic litigation, policy, and civic literacy and community building. It's also a great opportunity for us to be able to interact with our community, listen to them, their feedback, and answer the questions. Now, talking about our work, the outputs we create and the efforts we put in are sustained by your contribution and support. The core base of our financial support comes from a donor base of ordinary interest users like you and I. We'll discuss how we're doing financially in the fundraising bit of the presentation, but if I could give you a sneak peek, we need you and your support. So please consider signing up to becoming a member and donating to us if you haven't already. If you are already a member, please tell your friends and family about the work we do and the fight we fight. For more information, you can visit internetfreedom.in/donate, and this link should show up in the chat while I'm speaking. In terms of the structure of today's call, we're doing it the good old way. All three amazing verticals will give you updates about their work. This part of the presentation will be live streamed and recorded. So if you don't wish to be recorded on camera, consider switching off your video. The second part of the call will not be live streamed and will be exclusive for the members on this call. Now, coming to the theme for today's call, I think it can be summed up by this powerful quote by Mr. Thomas Jefferson, who is considered to have first said it. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Now, having been a part of the IFF team for a while now, I can say with assurance that this is truly the motivation and spirit with which we come into work and leave work every day. We are conscious of the need to be constantly attentive and responsive to signs of opportunity to engage, to intervene, react, create awareness, litigate, and so much more. We're aware of the need to be vigilant, to safeguard our freedoms and advance digital rights in the country. We're also cognizant of the fact that this price is not just to achieve liberty, but to retain it. We can't stop or rest with a few wins because the fight is tough, it's long, and honestly worth it. We can't allow ourselves to become complacent because the technological advancements don't stop, and neither do the threats that may arise due to its vulnerabilities. And I think this is particularly also true for civil society in general, given today's political climate. This climate is precisely why we swear by maintaining our vigilance and are happily paying the price, as liberty today and tomorrow is and always will be priceless. And with that, I hope I've been able to set the tone for what's to come on this call. On that note, I'm going to hand it over to Tanmay Singh, who's our Senior Litigation Counsel, to get the ball rolling.
Thanks, Tejasvi. Interesting little known fact about Thomas Jefferson, by the way, is that he hated the Declaration of Independence as it was finally published, because he said that when he drafted it, it was absolutely perfect and required no editorial review. And I think that's something we have in common with him, because you guys generally tend to dislike the reviews that we in the director's Pratik give back. Now, I am Tanmay. Lovely to see all of you here again. I am the Senior Litigation Counsel at IFF, and I've been helping manage the legal team for a little while now. Litigation is and has always been a slow process that requires patience and sustained support. Over the last 3 years or so that I've been around at IFF, I've seen the environment around nonprofit advocacy change drastically. Recently, over the years, we've seen income tax raids and false FIRs being filed, even against lawyers, which there was in India where that would not happen. Purely, and this is only for ensuring that the fundamental right to fair trial is available for all, which you would think was a basic in any democracy, but over the last few years, we've seen that changing. But the only thing that has done for us is that it has strengthened our resolve. And that's why I'm so proud of all of my colleagues and all of you members who so fearlessly carry on and help us carry on this work that we're doing here. In fact, Brinda Bhandari, one of our off council, is joining us on audio. She's coming back from a conference with a senior advocate. She's here to tell you one such story that we worked on just this past week. So all over to you, Brinda.
Yeah, hi. Hopefully you can all hear me. Apologies for joining on audio only. I just got done, so I'm in the car, unfortunately. Yes, so the case I want to talk about is the FMP case. First of all, I want to thank FMP. They've been supporters, and we've worked with them over the last couple of years, and we've had the privilege of filing many petitions with them, including for internet shutdowns. In this particular petition, we had sought guidelines on search and seizure of digital devices. I don't think anybody needs to get an update about the importance of the fact that today there is really no law and no guidelines that govern whose mobile phones can be seized, what data can be taken. Can you be forced to give the password of, if the police calls you? What happens if if you're an accused in a case? What happens if you're not an accused, but the police still want to seize your phone? So these are issues that are very present in today's time. It's according to me, it's one of the most important issues of digital privacy and criminal law that exists. So we had filed this petition last year. The pleadings had been completed. And, in December 2022, we had gotten an order that said list the matter in 12 weeks. And, nothing moved, as sometimes does happen in the Supreme Court. But what we decided then was, given the recent series of raids that have happened in the NewsClick cases arising out of those, we decided I think it was important that this petition be heard again. So we mentioned the matter last week before the Honorable Supreme Court. And we were lucky enough that we've been now given a date of 7th November, where the matter will be heard, we hope will be heard and decided finally. Given that the pleadings are complete, we do believe that this could be a stage for the court to hear the matter and decide the law once and for all on the guidelines, if any, that should be laid on search and seizure of digital devices. So this has only been possible due to all your support. We think, and it's not just the support that we do in litigation. I think as Tanmay and other members of the team will also talk about, IFF also, will often host these talks and give these, host these talks and these Q&A sessions on issues such as this, on topical issues. So on what happens if the police comes to your door and asks for your phone, like what should you do? So IFF also does a lot of that, which is only enabled through your support. So we really are grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Tanmay, should I go?
Yes, Gautam, do you want to unmute and go right ahead?
Yeah.
Sorry, over to Gautam. Sorry, I muted myself and I said over to Gautam. I'm so sorry. Over to Gautam.
Imagine you guys.
Tanmay had given me detailed instructions. Make sure you say over to Gautam, and I have forgotten that. So
you guys are out there making submissions to the Chief Justice of India, and you can't figure out a simple mic pass.
So over to Gautam, who we've had the great privilege of working with.
Thank you, Rinda. I have some dodgy network, so I hope I'm audible and clear. I want to just talk about two recent cases that we have done and are doing. The first is the challenge to the amendment to the information technology rules of, if you would know, effectively set up or intends to set up a government-sponsored or appointed fact-check unit that will flag information that is fake, false, or misleading about the business of the central government. And once it flags that information, the intermediary is either obligated to take it down or lose safe harbor. So obviously it is like this. So with IFF anchoring it, petitions were filed in the Bombay High Court on behalf of the Association for Indian Magazines, and also assistance was provided the lead slowly in Indian litigation, as I think all of you know. But this is one case where we have begun, filed, argued fully, and in fact the written submissions date for judgment is December 1st. So actually, this will be a case that we have seen through from beginning to end. Like from the initial strategy and the drafting and the filing all the way up to the final judgment. We've seen it to the end. I think also the important thing is IFF has been involved throughout. So so in the so although the case was led by Mr. Navroz Sirvai for Kunal Kamra's case, in the Association for Indian Magazines petition, this was entirely handled in-house by IFF. So Radhika and Gayatri and Tanmay basically all anchored the drafting and the research, and then when we went to Bombay, it was argued by me, and I was assisted by Radhika and Gayatri. So it's been an IFF thing, through and through. So I think that's something to really take home, and hopefully we can do a lot more of this going forward. So that's one case. The second case is the sedition challenge, which has been ongoing for a bit. And the significance of this is that a year and a half ago, the Supreme Court admitted challenge to the sedition provision, and in the meantime suspended sedition prosecutions. And more recently, that matter has been referred to a larger bench to consider afresh this whole issue. And now IFF is assisting the Supreme Court in two of the petitions. So we're providing drafting and research assistance there. And of course, this is significant because sedition is amongst the most abused provisions with respect to speech online and, for that matter, offline as well. And having it struck off will not only be good, but also in the best case scenario, we will get a judgment that reaffirms some fundamental principles of speech that apply to both the online and the offline world. So just watch this space, I think, specifically for December 1st, which is when the judgment is scheduled to come out, Bombay High Court, and for more progress on the sedition case. And of course, we'll keep you updated. So unless I've missed something, it's over to Radhika.
Thanks, Gautam. Hi, everyone. I'm Radhika Roy, and I'm an Associate Litigation Counsel at IFF. We've had a very exciting quarter with plenty of visits to the courts, which you may have already gauged from the updates given to you by Gautam, Brinda, and Tanmay. I'll just be taking a bit of your time and take you through a few other important developments that have taken place in this regard. So in August, the Madras High Court issued notice in our petition challenging the deployment of facial recognition technology by the Tamil Nadu police. We had submitted that such deployment was illegal and without any statutory basis, thereby infringing our right to privacy. The High Court heard detailed submissions made by Advocate Surat Parthasarathi on the petition's behalf, issued notice in the matter, and directed the state to file a reply. This is our second challenge to FRT in India, and we are looking forward to a positive outcome. Now, the case that I'm going to be talking about pertains to the bane of our existence, which is Arogya Setu. Saurav Das, a freelance journalist, had filed a series of RTIs to figure out who created the app and what were the privacy safeguards, amongst other things. After receiving no credible response from the Central Information Commission, Saurav filed a petition before the Delhi High Court with the help of IFF. Vrinda Bhandari argued that the information which had been sought has not been furnished till date. She also raised the issue of how no hearing had been granted to Saurav by the CIC before passing out the final order. So it was here that the court orally observed that the CIC order appears to lack consideration and application of mind, and that the information sought by Saurav has not been fully addressed, which is a positive. So consequently, the court has now directed the government to put it on record in an affidavit that they do not have comprehensive file notations or any additional records of decision making. In the second case, which is there on the slide, so this is something you may have heard about. Journalist Tanul Thakur's satirical website, The Dowry Calculator, had been banned by MIT without providing any hearing or even a copy of the order to Tanul. He challenged the ban, got an order which directed for him to be given a hearing. And after all of this, Mighty still decided to continue with the ban. Tanul challenged this afresh, and in July, the Delhi High Court directed Mighty to consider unblocking Tanul's website if a suitable disclaimer was put in place. On October 4th, though, the Union of India informed Delhi High Court that the Interministerial Committee had rejected this proposal. So accordingly, the Delhi High Court has now directed the Union of India to file the report of the IMC in a sealed cover. The matter is now listed in January 2024, and we will keep you updated on what goes down. So outside of court, we had the issue of a Google form being circulated by Delhi police that asked for residents of Delhi from northeastern states, Darjeeling and Ladakh to fill their personal information such as their name, address, community, tribe name, occupation, etc. This was all in the name of their safety and security. On August 14, we wrote to the Delhi Police Commissioner and filed an RTI as well. We've now received a response stating that the Google form is closed and whatever data that had been collected was deleted on August 18 itself. We are definitely grateful for such immediate action being taken because disproportionate collection of personal data, that to our vulnerable communities, is a clear violation of our fundamental rights. So with this, I hand over the baton to my colleague Gayatri, who will take you through the rest of the updates. Thank you.
I guess, as is customary with every call, there is some tech issue.
Can I say something?
But we're figuring it out. Yes.
I think it picks up now.
Thank you, Radhika. As we have seen, the lack of transparency around online censorship is a recurring theme within the work of the IFF litigation team. Following an incident in August where a teacher in Muzaffarnagar purportedly engaged in very serious misconduct, harming the physical safety of a student, we noticed that there were reportedly tweets relating to the incident were taken down and were being withheld in India in request to a legal demand by the Indian government. Following these news reports, IFF filed RTIs with MIT and MIB seeking more information regarding which posts were taken down and if due process was followed in taking down these orders. Surprisingly, we found out that both MIT and the MIB took ownership for undertaking censorship relating to this incident. Mighty claimed that they had undertaken the censorship under Section 69A of the IT Act, read with the 2009 blocking rules, and MIB claimed that they had taken down tweets under Rule 16 of the IT Rules 2021. As IFF followers will be familiar by now, Mighty and MIB both cited Rule 16, which is a confidentiality requirement under the Blocking Rules 2009, to deny information about the tweets which were taken down. They also refused to provide blocking orders related to the same. As we saw from the update from Radhika, till so far we have not seen Mighty or MIB providing the blocking orders for takedown for online censorship, which is in grave violation of the guidelines laid down in Shreya Singhal versus Union of India. IFF will be filing a first appeal for this. So in 2020, India's ranking in the World Press Freedom Index slipped to 161 out of 180, as per global media watchdog Reporters Without Borders. The IFF flagship initiative, the DPDC, Digital Patrakar Defense Clinic, is a pioneering legal clinic in India that is dedicated to providing legal services towards the protection of rights of journalists. Its primary goal is to provide a comprehensive one-stop shop solution to journalists who face threats related to their work. The clinic offers a wide range of services, including pro bono legal advice and full-service legal representation. In addition to our litigation, this quarter, IFF provided legal assistance to seven journalists. Over to Prateek now.
Thanks, Gayatri. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm Prateek Wagre, the Policy Director at IFF. And next few minutes, we'll talk to you about what the policy team has been up to over the last quarter or so. And the first one that we talk about is rather interesting, and I'll come to that in a second because there have been some developments on this today. But in early July, there was a consultation paper that the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India had put out. And titled, and quite a mouthful, regulatory mechanism for over-the-top communication services and selective banning of OTT services. So both the comments and the counter comments for this are now publicly available. But again, I'll come back to that bit in a second. Now, we responded to this public consultation, and we raised a couple of issues, right, that we've seen in public discourse for a couple of years now. One was the definition of OTT services itself that seems to be trying to pigeonhole a lot of internet services into, and also against the idea of licensing or registration for online communication services or online services in general, right? There's also questions I think we had that, look, there's a sense of, deja vu in the sense of why is this question coming up again and again from the question of from perspective of net neutrality, and why is TRAI looking at this repeatedly. And lastly, on this, the question of selective banning of internet applications and services, which has the potential to be pretty ad hoc, opaque, ambiguous, and if you look at the technical aspects of it, infeasible and impractical as well, right? Now, once the comment phase concluded and the comments were made public and the counter comments opened, we also saw that the telecom operators used, unsurprisingly, a number of arguments that we've seen before, which ultimately result in the need for bringing internet services. You seem to point towards internet services need to be brought under a licensing regime, and of late there's also been this conversation around fair share or a cost sharing model on the grounds that they need to invest in infrastructure, right? And this is where it became this important for the community to swing into action, right? With a version of Save the Internet campaign. And, I'll take a second to acknowledge the role that Nikhil Pava also played throughout this effort, right? But just coming back to what happened during this counter comment phase. What we did was we essentially distilled some of our major concerns and gave people a mechanism to submit their comments to the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India by just going to a website, filling up savetheinternet.in, filling up a few details, and then an email would automatically go out both to TRAI and just keeping us in copy, just so that we could track how many of these went out. Right? So about 2,000 of these went out. In addition to this, what also happened was a number of startup founders came together. About 130 of them came together and sent a letter to TRAI asking, again, for net neutrality to be preserved and defended. And here's the interesting thing: it seems like either earlier today or pretty recently, COAI has come out. Has come out and said that this letter was based on basically misleading the startup founders, etc. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's clear that the move to defend net neutrality has gotten their attention and has gotten people's attention as well. The other interesting thing, if we just go back a few months, you'll all remember, and I'll try to build on an analogy I've heard a number of times. If we can just move to the next slide. Yes, thank you. The Data Protection Bill, now Act, right? And I've seen this analogy being used about it being like waiting for Godot. And well, now we sort of have a silhouette, but we don't really have Godot yet because the rules are still there, right? But without getting into the criticisms that we've made on multiple occasions, I'll just quickly run through what we did, right? So within a few hours of it being tabled in the parliament, we put out a public statement. We also put out a first read analysis of it. We also then, a number of IFF staffers were able to write op-eds about some of op-eds and explainers about various aspects of the bill, or at least whatever we could see in the absence of rules. And Vinda pointed out conversations that we have on timely issues, and we did one such members call on the data protection bill itself, right? The other thing, of course, that happened throughout this period was this was happening in Parliament, which we also track. And so, as always, we published a digital rights brief before the session started. We, of course, continued tracking starred and unstarred questions on a range of topics, such as the mandatory use of Aadhaar, infrastructure for controlling cyber attacks, blocking websites, social media accounts, etc. In addition to that, what we also did this time was we were able to live tweet or do coverage of certain discussions as they were happening, to whatever extent they happened. If you followed Parliament this time around, right, around the Data Protection Act, around the registration of births and deaths, etc. Right, and the other thing that we also did was once we also analyzed some of the debates themselves, looking at the points that various MPs raised, as well as rebutted some of the statements that ministers made on the floor of the House through different forms of analysis. Right, and with that, let me just turn it over to our most recent staffer, Disha, who will talk about one of the most recent things that we've done.
Thanks for that, Prateek. Hi, everyone. I'm Disha. I'm a new Associate Policy Counsel here at IFF, and this is my first quarterly members call. So, hello. I want to start by adding to Prateek's list of public consultations that we've done on various policies for this quarter. And as recent as last week, we submitted comments to the Ministry of Consumer Affairs draft guidelines on prevention and regulation of dark patterns. Now, a very quick overview: dark patterns are deceptive interface designs that are deployed on apps, websites, or platforms to manipulate or influence a consumer to act in a way that drives profit to that platform. Consumer Affairs Ministry now wants to regulate this space, which was hitherto being regulated either through self-regulation or sectorally governed. These guidelines are very preliminary, and our submissions also were very preliminary, but reflected important concerns that need to be addressed before any such law comes into play. First, we asked the ministry to understand the dynamic nature of dark patterns and expand the scope and application of these guidelines to all sorts of dark patterns, not just the 10 that they've listed in their annexure. Then we want them to be cognizant of the current regulatory environment, especially the interplay within different sectors, and also striking a balance with self-regulation, with advertising, and with marketplace directly. Then, and most importantly, we need them to address privacy concerns surrounding dark patterns, which currently the guidelines manifestly lack. And we also submitted other comments on strengthening consumer feedback channels and setting thresholds for penalties, which can be criminal under the Consumer Protection Act. So now this consultation was backed by other proactive measures on our end. Interestingly, we conducted a community survey wherein our audience was encouraged to recognize and report dark patterns. And through this, we received 110 substantial responses that helped us in our qualitative analysis of what kind of dark patterns dominate the Indian market, And they've annexed our anonymous tabulation of that with our submissions to the ministry as well. Then we did 2 Instagram explainers on how to recognize said dark patterns, which further then encourage others to write into the survey. We have an in-house dark patterns media and community tracker, which is bolstered through survey responses and our own media sort of sweeps that we do. And interestingly, we have parallel engagement with the Department of Consumer Affairs, which I will come to very briefly in my next slide. And just to say that because it is so recent, our work on dark patterns is a continued effort. We are working on writing op-eds on dark patterns. We are urging the Department of Consumer Affairs to publish their comments that they've received on these guidelines. And we're also considering writing letters or representations to some companies that frequently default and deploy too many dark patterns. So now let me then come to very overbroad proactive measures that we as the policy team have taken over the quarter. So we took a number of measures to engage with our policymakers, some of which are listed on your screens currently. Firstly, we had the fortune of meeting with the Secretary of Department of Consumer Affairs, like I mentioned earlier, and to discuss dark patterns, of course, but also broadly consumer privacy, which is very interesting, and we wish to foster that relationship going forward. Then we had fresh appointments in the Department of Telecom and Department of IT. So we took advantage of that and wrote letters to these secretaries introducing IFF and underscoring our mandate and expectations from them in their tenure. Similarly, we wrote letters requesting fair and accessible public consultation processes for 3 criminal bills that have just come up and the national strategy of robotics, which is also around the corner and up for consultation. Then we inquired into the status of the national cybersecurity strategy with the coordinator. And lastly, and this is very exciting, we were among the leading voices on issues like WorldCoin and the Digital India Bill, with which we will, of course, continue engaging as and when more information comes up. So that wraps up my end of the policy team update. I'd like to hand over to our policy intern, Saharsh, to speak towards our transparency efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Disha. I'll cover the transparency vertical for the last quarter. So in the last 3 months, IFF has filed 77 right to information requests and 14 first appeals. These RTIs typically cover key concerns that we find in the news cycle that affect digital rights. And we are often able to strategically litigate based on the responses we get. It, of course, supports our long-term advocacy efforts. Among the key responses that we got in the last quarter was the RTI and the subsequent first appeal response on the Karnataka fact-checking unit, which the state government has just set up. They rejected our RTI, calling it vague, speculative, and questionable. And even during the first appeal response, they said that under RTI Act 2F, it did not fall as information, and said that the Bangalore police did not have a fact-checking unit, despite it being in the news cycle and being covered by a lot of ministries. Then there were the RTIs and first appeals on with METI concerning the DPDPB 2022 and then now 2023, and later on it of course became an act. One of these RTIs even led to a file inspection at the METI head office in September 2023. Then there was the RTI with the Ministry of Culture on the Har Ghar Tiranga website and its privacy policy. The response of that RTI will soon lead to a letter being sent to the Secretary of the Ministry of Culture, where we'll flag a few of these few concerns in the privacy policy. Then there was the RTI with the Central Ministry of External Affairs office and certain regional offices on whether DigiLocker and Aadhaar was mandatory as part of the passport applications. And good news is they aren't mandatory. And that was also getting good news to you is of course also part of our job. Then lastly, in a yearly effort for the RTIs and first appeal on checking whether states and union territories are abiding by the guidelines set by the Honorable Supreme Court in the Anuradha Bhasin judgment. In that compliance for this year, we got very favorable orders from Jammu Kashmir and the Goa First Appellate Authority directing the public information officers to provide us with the information we've asked. With this, I'll hand over the floor to Ashlesh.
Hello. Thanks a lot, sir. And hello, everyone. It's great to see all of you in the room here and all the people watching online. Hellos to you all too. I'm Ashlesh. I'm the campaign and advocacy associate here at IFF. Long time no see, but actually, if you've been around Delhi, we've met often lately because we've been up to a lot of physical events around Delhi NCR as we had promised in our 2023 implementation plan. Starting with the Glassroom, you've heard about our collaboration with Tactical Tech in the last few quarterly calls. We've worked with them to translate their award-winning digital literacy interventions into Indian languages, starting with Hindi and Malayalam. And in July this year, we piloted the Hindi edition of the Glassroom exhibition along with the data detox kit with our friends at the Code Studios. In the next few months, we intend to work with student communities and community library spaces to get the exhibition and the related digital literacy workshop materials to more and more people in more accessible formats. Let's look at some pretty pictures that we have. Here are some clicks from the Glassroom in New Delhi. You can see the data detox bar there, and you can see the interactive tablet apps that we have. We also hosted the Glassroom at the MSF Asia's Health and Humanity Summit. You can see the pictures in the next slide. They really help us out with the production, which looks great. We engage in advocacy and literacy efforts every day through our comms and campaigns. But today, for this quarter, I would like to talk about a specific campaign that we have. Moving to the next slide. The internet shutdowns in Manipur. It's been over 150 days since Manipur has been without proper internet access. The state government claims that the shutdowns are for law and order. We disagree. Therefore, on the 100-day mark, we compiled reasons as to why. We sent out press releases. We worked with News Laundry to produce a ground report of the people affected by these shutdowns. We collated the research to tell you why we disagree. One of the things that we illustrated on the webpage of the campaign was the templatization of the shutdown orders. The first thing is that they don't really publicize these orders actively, but more importantly, internet shutdowns have real and profound consequences for people. And a prolonged and seemingly indefinite shutdown like the one in Manipur right now leaves a devastating and like a long-term effort on the communities, the economy, and the societies. Despite the repercussions being of this high degree, the state government has been issuing what is essentially the same order multiple times with little less, but the date changes. As you can see in the GIF that we have from the webpage, such copy-paste orders indicate a non-application of mine. You can visit keepusonline.in to read more about why internet shutdowns don't work. And spoiler alert, for the next quarter, we have some exciting plans for Keep Us Online, so watch out. And thanks to our volunteer community who helped us design and develop this campaign page. Shout out to Nilma, Kaustubh, Ishan, and Anup. They are the best. And with this, I would like to hand over to Purvai, who's our kick-ass digital literacy intern. Over to you, Purvai.
Thank you, Ashlesh. Hello, everyone. I am Purvai, the digital literacy intern at IFF. And I've been here since August and have had the most exciting opportunity to assist the policy team and the comms team with IFF's flagship event, that is Privacy Supreme. And this year it celebrated the 6th anniversary of the landmark Puttaswamy judgment. And Privacy Supreme was indeed a successful event, and we owe it to the 160 people who showed up. And of course, the stellar speaker lineup who put forth insightful discussions around the impact of technology in varied contours of our lives. The sessions range from consequences of AI to the intricacies of tech, caste, and privacy. And the recordings of the sessions can be accessed by scanning the QR code that you see on your screens in the left bottom corner. Moving ahead. This quarter, we hosted 3 virtual events. The Twitter challenge in the Karnataka High Court, the TRI consultation on regulation of OTT communication services, and the 100 plus days of internet shutdown in Manipur. We hope to continue with the plan of hosting many such virtual events moving ahead. And as part of IFF's 2023 implementation plan, we set out to build a video vertical and began the year by investing in equipment and human resources. But we hit pause, and as a moment to reflect, in July, we decided to reassess our strategy. We are currently reworking it. So yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you so much. Now I hand over to Shravi, who's the fundraising associate at IFF, to speak on IFF's fundraising efforts of this quarter.
Thank you, Purvai. Hi, everyone. Please excuse me, I'm a little under the weather, but hi, I am Shravi. I'm the new Community and Operations Associate at IFF. I have been working here for 2 months, and it's been an absolute privilege to work to raise funds for IFF. IFF is for the people of India, by the people of India. We're run solely by your donations. And I know that I say this for all IFF staffers here, that we're so grateful for your continued support and for your continued contributions to IFF. However, we have a really long way to go. If you move to the, if you see on your screens next, um, the the gap between in the last quarter and so the gap between our income and expenditure has been extremely huge. That said, we're really, really grateful for all our supporters. We've had support since we started this. We've had our support for more than 4,000 people. We have 162 active members, and that's a great number. And we're so happy. We're so grateful that all of you are here joining us today. However, IFF has not had organizational donors this quarter, which has really, really impacted um, our finances. As you see again on your screen next, in the graphs, our finances this month and in the last in the last 6 months have been the gap keeps widening. I'm sorry. The gap keeps widening between our expenses incurred every month and the donations we raise. To help this, we hosted our annual membership drive between the months of August and September. Our target was to raise to get 100 new members. We could get 27 new members. We did lag behind in our target. We're really, really excited to have all 27 new members. We are so glad to have you as part of our family. As perks for joining as new members, we also gave away some perks, some books, and movie screenplays to our new members. One of the books happened to be Gautam Bhatia. He was on the call with us, and to all the other authors and the artists we had on who collaborated with us. However, the gap still remains, and the lag in our number of members is truly affecting our finances. If you like our work, if you support our work, we would encourage you to support us, to donate to us. And there are several ways you can donate to us or raise funds for us. One of the cooler ways to do that is to get hands on our merch. We have some really exciting merch for you, and we cannot wait for you to get your hands on some of these really incredible and cool designs. And with a big shout out and warmest hugs to Frankly Wearing for the logistical support, and to the amazing designers, Meen Curry, Alipur Post, Smish Designs, John Locks, and Spaceman Strikes for all their creativity, for all their help. Thank you so much, everyone. I will now hand over to Tejasvi. Thank you.
So much, Shakti. Thank you to all the staffers for summarizing our efforts over the past 3 months, and to all those who joined and stayed with us today, whether on call or through live stream. We hope that through this presentation, we were able to convey the vision and mission of IFF. And if you wish to help us continue working towards that mission, please consider donating to us. We're a very small team of 8 full-time staffers, and each contribution matters. Our memberships start at really reasonable slabs. So do check it out at internetfreedom.in/donate. Now on to the fun part, the exclusive, candid, off the record chat with members. For everyone watching this through live stream, thank you for watching, and we hope you